Welcome to Kidmissing TV. I am your host, Angelina Wilson. This is the case of Chelsea Poorman. She was a Cree woman from Vancouver who disappeared, and unfortunately her case wasn't taken very seriously because she was a missing Indigenous woman. Her body was found a year and a half later. She was in a neighborhood, in a vacant lot. How did no one in the neighborhood notice her? She had rods in her legs. She had braces on her legs. This woman was brain damaged and very vulnerable, and police just closed the case and then told her mother privately, "Oh, we're still investigating." Really? She was found on April 22nd, 2022. Spotted finally by a construction worker. Her mother, Sheila, was very upset, especially because they weren't really investigating. She was missing several fingers and part of her skull. Her cell phone wasn't with her and was later traced to Victory Square in downtown Vancouver. She didn't understand how her daughter ended up there. I am going to change your battery. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back with a fresh battery. Sorry. As I was saying, it doesn't make sense. And it took police 2 weeks to notify the mother that her daughter had been found. At least most of her. The owner of the property, which is valued at over $7 million, has been out of the country for several years. So he wouldn't have known that there was a body on his property. But there was a caretaker that mowed the front lawn. But it wasn't until a construction crew entered the backyard that they found Chelsea. The police say the investigation was detailed and complex. There was insufficient evidence to suggest her death was the result of a crime. Excuse me? Well, where's the piece of her skull and her fingers? This just boils my blood to have to read to you. This is a quote from the police. "We know this news is unlikely to satisfy family, friends, and community members who knew Chelsea, loved her, and believed her death must have been the result of foul play," said a statement from police. Sergeant Steve Addison, a media liaison officer with the Vancouver Police Department, said at a press conference that the cause of her death would likely never be known. Are you kidding me? She was murdered. Part of her skull was chopped off. Her fingers were chopped off. What other conclusion could a coroner come to? Gonna say animals ate her skull and her fingers? Unlikely in a backyard that no one would notice. Actually, I guess it's not a vacant lot. I guess there's a house there, but Unlikely that no one would notice if there were animals feeding on her, aside from the fact that she was there all winter, probably buried under snow. So her overall condition of decomp was probably better. It's just um and the Union of British Columbia Indian Chiefs, the UBCIC, and the Federation of Indigenous Nations, which represents 74 First Nations in Saskatchewan, where the Poorman family is from, issued statements calling for Vancouver police to apologize to the Poorman family and continue investigating the case. They're furious, and I don't blame them. The quote from the Union of British Columbia Indian Chiefs said, and the Federation of Indigenous Nations said, quote, "The abrupt halt of the case from VPD is emblematic of the absolute crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls." End quote. Amen. She was born and raised in Regina, Saskatchewan. The family from the Kawakatus First Nation in Saskatchewan. She dreamed of becoming a makeup artist, a fashion designer, and musician. She was known for bringing hot coffee to people living on the street when temperatures in Regina would plunge. She had a car accident in 2014, and her brain injury meant that she was mentally, quote unquote, a few years younger than her age. She moved to Vancouver in July of 2020 to be closer to family and access mental health supports, and was living in Burnaby with her boyfriend when she went missing. Her mother said, quote, "The accident damaged the way she thought. She was very vulnerable. In her little life, she went through a lot, and that's why people would take advantage of her a lot." End quote. She said, "And that's what's so sad. She didn't deserve what happened to her." End quote. I don't have a phone number for this case, but this case boils my blood. Absolutely boils my blood. How can you say it was anything but a homicide? Somebody please explain that to me, because I failed to understand. It is truly a failure to communicate, as far as I'm concerned. Because it should have been simple, you know? It's a homicide. Clip her nails, go under her nails, do whatever you had to do. Did you talk to her boyfriend at all? I'm not saying he did anything, but maybe he knew where she was going that day or whatever. And oh, excuse me. You know, did they talk to friends or anything? Did they talk to her doctors? Because she didn't chop off her own fingers and take a piece of her skull. I mean, she just didn't. And she didn't climb a gate with rods in both of her legs and braces on her legs so she could even walk. That's ridiculous. She was brought there and murdered. Now, not only is it sad to me because police don't take Indigenous or First Nations people's cases seriously in Canada, and they don't. Fortunately, here in the United States, we're in a different position, because if you live on a reservation, which apparently she didn't at this point, but or you're from a reservation, which she was, they have Indian police, which are police departments for reservations. Because our reservations, I don't know about how they do it up there, but our reservations are Indian-owned land that we put them on when we took over their country, and they have their own police departments because they have their own laws. They are their own nations. So I don't know how they do it in Canada. Maybe the cat can tell me. She's Canadian. I really hope that you'll respond to this. And who had her telephone before she ended up dead behind a vacant house that hasn't been lived in years? Whoever did it was either very strong and climbed over the gate carrying her, or had a gate code. That limits the possibilities. The police work should have been pretty easy on that, in my opinion. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. God bless you, and I'm sorry that Indigenous people go through so much in both countries. I don't say that just as a white person who feels bad because we took everything. I say that as someone who has Canadian, Native American blood, someone who has Romanov Gypsy blood. Look that up. That's horrific. And like I said, First Nations. I am partly First Nations Iroquois. So even though I don't have a lot of it, I'm a small percentage. I also have Indian on my mother's side, but I don't know what it is exactly. But on my father's side, I'm First Nations Iroquois. And I just, I'm not Indigenous in the sense that anybody would even know, because I'm such a small amount. But it doesn't mean that I don't feel for these people. I feel for them as a human being. But it ticks me off to think that people who are potentially related to me, albeit distantly, could be ignored when they disappear or are murdered. So, just so you know where I'm coming from. And like I said, Romanov Gypsy, look it up. It's horrific. There's been some debate in the family, although I think my mother pretty well proved it with a lot of paperwork, that we're Romanov Gypsy on her side. So, yeah, I've got kind of a unique little heritage going. uh, on my mother's side, we believe we belong to the tribe that is Foxwoods, and if you can prove that, you'll get money. But we never went about, taking the genealogy to them and proving it out and whatever, because it would be very difficult to do because you need records, and records for natives are very hard to find. It's kind of like finding records for African Americans in the South. Good luck, from back in the day, They were thought about as much of as the African Americans were. As far as I'm concerned, the African Americans that were brought here as slaves didn't ask to come here. And the Native Americans certainly didn't ask the white folk to come here and kill them off with all of our wonderful diseases that they'd never been exposed to and push them onto little reservations and take all their land. So, anyway, end of rant. I've never thought that was okay. I've always found it sad and disturbing as a human being, but also as somebody who has some, albeit small amount, of native blood. Mostly I'm English, French, and Irish, but I do have native blood as well. So I find that disturbing as a human, regardless of blood, and as someone who does have a small amount of native blood, and the thought that there are relatives of mine on reservations in Canada that wouldn't be taken seriously. It bothers me. And it should bother everyone regardless of their ethnicity. And it would bother me even if I didn't have a drop of native blood. So, that's my opinion. Thank you for listening to my rant. I always try to give a little bit of an opinion at the end of these videos. God bless you. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you Wednesday. Bye, guys.